Right. So welcome again to a new co-owned and co-created VEAP session. Those two words are not idle. It signals the fact that it's what we are about. We're making this thing happen together, co-creating and co-owning it. So I'm very happy. I missed you guys last week, but I was doing our work in St. Vincent, and we had a really great time there. So as you all know, we had a mission. Sorry, we had a mission to with Expertise France with Emily and Kadiata. They came to the region just to get a first-hand feel of how the VEAP is advancing and get their direct feedback from some of the stakeholders. Of course, they had joined our first session the week before, and during that week, on the Friday, we visited 4 companies in Barbados on site and the two BSOs, and we had a really good feedback and very frank, open discussion. And Gilbert, yes, indeed, the folks give some thumbs up to the program and its usefulness. And Leighton, so kudos to both of you. Then we went over to lovely St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and we had an exceptional time there. The accommodation was excellent, and the interaction was really great. We got an opportunity to interact with the media, the government's agency for public information invited us for a 30 minutes interview, which we were very happy to have. So. And the feedback has been really positive. The general consensus is that all of the participants who speak to, they want to make sure that the sessions are really practical things they can implement, and that is exactly our objective. And one important theme that came out and keeps recurring with almost every single individual we spoke to is the need to have some sort of online presence made available through the program where each of you can go ahead and start setting up your shop, basically set up shop online. And definitely something we had recognized early on, myself, Gilbert and Leighton also. So it's very good that your feedback validated that design adjustment. So we are actually working now on the back end to have these amendments made to allow the program to pay for your online access to an online marketplace of your choice. But this is how it's going to work. First of all, there are indeed some original marketplaces like Shop Carib and Planting Seeds, and also the parent company that Gilbert represents, ethniv.com. They also have an e-marketplace. And of course, there are others like WooCommerce, Shopify, etc. So very soon, as soon as we get those budgetary aspects confirmed, Gilbert and Leighton would present to you some of the options that are available. And I want to put them on notice that I want them to also highlight the regional options. So why is that important?
Especially the regional option.
Yeah, regional Caribbean options. Why is that critical? Because in the region, we have to learn to build our own platforms and support our own platforms as we build the ecosystem to support digitalization in general, and in our context, e-commerce. Right. However, you'd be exposed to the various options, and then we would decide on the best methodology for selection. We want the limited funds that are available to have maximum reach. So, for example, we would like for you to have many months of paid access, after which you would assume responsibility for maintaining access on these platforms. But I would also try my best to negotiate special rates with platforms, including regional ones, to see if they can, maximize the your presence for a longer period within available budget. But I must underscore that it will be great and wonderful and very as a legacy of this program if some of our regional Caribbean-based platforms used by some of you or most of you or all of you, and so that we build the ecosystem. And when the ecosystem is built, it means that the value that accrue to all of us as a collective increases. So as soon as that's concrete, you would get back to you on that. So I really look forward to that. And the objective is at the end of this cohort, you can all have a fully functional shop on a platform and doing business there. And that'd be a really great legacy to the program, and it would actually fulfill one of the objectives and intended outcomes of the program. So I don't want to take any more of your time. So I want to wish everyone all the best. Continue to engage with each other, whether on your WhatsApp group or in the chat here, or you could make bilateral connections with each other, however you wish, but let's keep the networking going, and that's important. And let's learn from each other as we learn by doing in this collective effort. So thank you. Gilbert, is over to you and Leighton. Have a great day.
Thanks, Philip. Good morning, everyone. Let's see if this is working. All right. Thanks again for being here, sharing your time with us. I want to start off by doing not just a recap, but get a review, to get a feel for where you guys are about what we're doing. I've had some feedback. This is something that I planned since last week that I'm going to do today. But I've had some feedback from Trinidad, which was really helpful. Thanks, Leonie. So I want to get feedback from the rest of the group about how we're doing. It's really, really important that, we have this idea in our head of how we are being portrayed, how the information that we're presenting is being received. But we need to understand that it is being received in that way. And if not, how can we improve our presentations and the way that we come about and deliver to you guys? So I'm going to open up the floor for some of that feedback this morning. We're going to take notes and we're going to do our best to improve on that. Take into consideration, as I said before, right? A lot of the stuff, I know the way that this program was presented, it was geared towards e-commerce. But understand that e-commerce cannot thrive unless there's solid business operations in the back end. So let's go. Open up the floor. Who wants to start first? Or else I'm going to start calling name. Again, thanks, Leonie. If you want to kick it off by making some of your comments public, please go ahead. Okay.
Hi, good morning all. Can you all hear me?
Thank you, Leonie.
Okay, so it's Leoy.
Leoy.
Yes.
My apologies.
So y'all are hearing me clearly, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I guess I can share some of the things that we would have spoken about from our team in Trinidad through the chamber. But before that, I just wanted to mention that one of our team members was asking if we could review the pricing spreadsheet, which you would have gone through last week. I think that was a really pretty good, useful tool. And if it is possible for us to just spend a little bit more time on it for in-depth understanding.
Yes, part of the plan for this morning.
Great, perfect. The other thing is in terms of the workbook, some folks are asking with regards to an easier way for us to be able to make it amendable. I guess the idea or the thought was that it would kind of make up sort of like a plan, your own plan. So is it that it's going to be continue to come out in like a survey format where you just get the results after, or is it like an actual like workbook that you could like work through on your own time? Like how does that work?
Okay, Leighton.
All right, thanks for that question, Leon. And a question on the workbook, it will take the format that the latter that you just mentioned, more being like a book. We added the survey format at the tail end of getting up and running as an easy way to collect the information, allow both BSOs and program administrators to be able to observe the submission of the information. However, there are some tweaks that we're going to make on our end. It's something that I actually brought up or started to suggest already to the team at large around how the format of the information should come out at the end of the day. One of the things that we are very purposeful on doing is providing a formula for success in the format of that workbook, and being able to refine that formula is important. Being able to see the formula come out in a easily digestible, readable, trackable, and organizable way is very important as well. So there'll be some slight adjustments towards how the workbook is interacted with. But we're gonna make that presentation to you guys in our next request for you guys to submit information for the work. But we'll be having an internal meeting before to solidify that. But it will, based on where I'm seeing that we need to go, it will take the format of an actual, like a document, like a working document. That's the work.
Yeah,
Right.
so Leighton, to add to that, yeah, so it'll be two-tracked. Obviously, a format maybe in Word where that's yours, you keep that, you fill it out as you go along. But where the information is such that it can be aggregated, we'll definitely publish that section as a Google form. Again, for the obvious reason of aggregating the data, being able to compare, and so that will give global insight that will be critical to adjusting the program as we go along, and also to think about future programs and interventions based on your responses.
Yeah, so that is great. And so can I go ahead?
Just
Go ahead.
1 second. So I did respond to your email this morning, and I would have let you know that at the end of the completion of the survey, initially, so there are a few who will not have received the document at the end. However, that was tweaked, and at the end, once someone has submit the survey, the form, they will receive something on their end. It may be that they will receive it in a PDF form. I'm not sure the format that they will receive it in. However, all that person needs to do is just convert it into Word or Excel form so that they can edit it as they go along. So I'm not sure if that will be useful on your end as well.
Well, it would be useful for the businesses, but it wouldn't really be useful for the BSOs because we weren't supposed to do the survey. So we don't really have oversight as to I guess, what would have been replicated there. So for example, if one of the businesses are to reach out to us to say, okay, well, we need assistance in developing this part of the, one of the questions or something like that with regards to their businesses, there isn't really any way for us to, I guess, view it to assist them in that kind of regard, or to have pre-knowledge of it then, if that makes sense.
Can address that. So so your companies, those companies you work with, that information will be made available to each BSO for their specific companies, so that you have a basis on which to interact with them. So we would cut that out, and then we would make it available to the particular BSO. Thank you.
Yeah, it would have been great if we could review all of these workbooks, or review every step of the process as master trainers. But as you understand, there is, I think, is 90 something plus registered businesses here. That's going to be difficult. Hence, it's advisable that this information be shared with the BSOs, and each task be reviewed with the BSOs if the business need that support.
Absolutely. All right, great.
Hey, Leo, do you want to continue with your, is there anything else you want to continue with based on your recommendation letter that you wrote this morning? Review?
Well, I'm not sure if any other BSO probably feels this way, but I think for me, I just want to ensure that when we are completed with the cohorts 1 and 2, and you guys are no longer involved directly. I mean, I imagine that you would still be involved, but if the idea is for us as the BSOs to be able to replicate this program 3 years from now or 5 years from now, I just think that we need a little bit more support in being able to teach this content. Like, so for me, when I am talking about trade, I could just talk about it because that's my core competencies. But if it is I am to teach someone something else, or for them to be able to teach someone the content, I think in being able to kind of give them more of a manual or a guide or building their capacity, I think that's also important. So I just kind of want us to have that in the back of our minds. That is not just about the businesses that we have in this current cohort, but is about being able to replicate this program in the future. So just in terms of ensuring that the capacity of the BSOs is being built out adequately, I just think that that's something that we need to put a little bit more attention into.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
thank you for that,
Yeah.
Leroy. Right. So
ahead,
Carbon Expo generally does a lot of capacity training in different aspects of business development, including trade, access to markets, etc. So what can probably happen is we are making the sessions available online, and we're redesigning the page on our website that deals with VEAP to put additional resources, including the lecture slides and so on, neatly organized as per week. But at the same time, we would keep an open approach so that you can know when there are other capacity building exercises from other departments of Carbon Expo that could complement what you do. And additionally, coming up soon is the Caribbean Digital Transformation Institute, which addresses the whole issue of digital transformation from various tracks and dimensions. I think up to 8 different dimensions, including e-commerce. So there's additional resources. So what has to happen is then keep abreast, keep in contact, and at the same time, we sort of make sure that we're able to respond to your needs in a customizable manner. But the relationship building will be critical to sustaining this.
Okay, thank you. I could leave the floor now and open it up to other persons.
Okay, so what I'm going to try to do is also do a lesson outline, right? And subject matter notes. Philip and I had this discussion last week. We could put together a small document, probably a PDF, and try to send that out to each session as a as a nudge, so that if you have to repeat these lessons in the future, because exactly what you're saying is the objective of this program, right? To empower the BSOs. So subject matter notes, send that out to you in a PDF format so that you can follow that along. The other thing is some of the things that we're going to be talking about may not be relevant in the next 5 years, especially when it comes to marketing. But when it comes to core business concept, like understanding value, understanding business strategy, and all that type of stuff, yes, absolutely relevant. And the fact that you guys are actually filling out these workbook together would help that information to stick. Anybody else? Anyone
Gilbert,
else wanna-
and Sean, sorry.
Oh, Sean. Yes.
Thank
Go ahead, Sean.
Yes, thank you, Gilbert. Morning, everybody. So just going off, I hate to belabor the workbook point, but for Ramono's benefit, I didn't get a copy of it after I finished completing it. So would you suggest that I do it over to fill out the survey again to get a copy, or would you be able to extract my responses so when I filled it out the first time and send that to me, and then I could convert it into the Excel, PDF, Word, whichever one works best?
And to make it easier for you, I'll extract yours and I'll send it to you.
All right, that would be awesome. Thank you very much, Ramono, and that will help if I have any questions that Leoy and the team at the TT Chamber could support as well too, because I see it as a working document. So as we go through this, the things that we pick up, like there were things I wanted to edit based on our class last week. And I was like, okay, this is a working document. I want to be able to edit it along the way so that when it's finished at the end, I have a pretty decent first draft of an e-commerce workbook and plan so that I know, okay, this is the direction that I would like to head toward, and I could start taking the necessary steps. So I appreciate that. I just wanted to double check before we move forward. So thanks again.
Thanks, Shan. Anyone else? We need this. Leighton and I need this. Car Export need the feedback as well. We need to know that what we are trying to accomplish here is actually being attained.
Excuse me, is there a link to this workbook? I think myself and my colleague would have joined late in the training, so we may not have access to the workbook that you all are referencing.
So
I'll place you
Ramona.
in the chat here. Just give me a.
All right, thanks, Ramona. All right, so it seems like Leighton and I are doing an excellent job. There are no other criticisms, and I don't see criticism as a bad thing, right? Critique, it's a very, very useful thing. But as we go along, I would expect more comments like Leoy's from you guys, honest comments. You're taking the time to be here, so make sure that what you're getting exactly what you signed up for. All right, so let me step into, if there's nothing else, I'd step into the workbook, not the workbook, the pricing sheet. And try to make this as quickly as possible. One second. Okay, you guys see my screen?
Yes, we are.
Wonderful. So I'm gonna ask someone who, if you want to volunteer a product that you're making in your business, and let's just go through the pricing, starting with the costing sheet first. And again, this sheet is designed for if it's an e-commerce business, more than likely you're taking digital payments. So let's look at this. Anyone want to volunteer a product that they're making and run us through this price sheet and see what we come up with? Or should I just use our hypothetical business that we created? All right, Nathan, I'm just thinking we should have done this for Kim's. I did not think about this yesterday. I should have done this for Kim yesterday.
Also, Gilbert, I'm not sure if you're able to put it in presentation mode, because it's really small on my screen.
Okay, cool.
So I think
No
people are
problem.
not able to see quite clearly what's being presented.
All right, let's see. This is Excel. I'm not sure I put Excel into
Or Zoom.
presentation.
Gilbert, just zoom in a bit more.
Oh, you must zoom in. Okay.
Yeah, just
Wonderful.
zoom in. Yeah. Does it see a little bit more then? More. Zoom. Thank you.
Better?
For those of us with extra eyes. Thank you very much, Gilbert. Okay.
All right. So the spreadsheet that I showed you last week, I updated it and I sent it out with a lot of notes in it. So I hope you guys were able to receive that, because I know Ramona sent it out. I think it's like 2 days ago. So if you're doing electronic payments in your system, you have to calculate whatever your credit card company is charging you as fees. I put in my labor rate is $50 an hour. And I said over here, when you just in this column, when calculating for hourly rate, take into consideration a living wage, right? You know what your rent is, you know what your electricity is, take all of those things into consideration when you're thinking about this is not for the business. This is separate from the business. You're working. You have a job with your business, even if you own that business. That business entity is separate from your expenses, right? There's some of this, I don't want to get heavy into the tax system, but there's certain expenses that are business related that you can write off in your taxes. Then you have your personal expenses that you would have incurred working for this business. Take those things into consideration when you're calculating your hourly wage. I add 15%. This is just a number that I think for my business would be a good cover for my risk. The possibility of returns, the possibility of damage, the possibility of stolen products being stolen, the possibility of so many other factors that may play into a risk that will increase the cost of my product. Right? So I add an incidental of 15%. So this example shows this person is making a linen dress, and it says linen dress. The material that is involved in this is a $20 fabric for $20. The zipper is $4. The buttons are $2.50. Pattern cutting, $25. That's basic expenses for creating this dress. Just one dress. Then I have to ship this off to someone. So I have the packing cost, tissue packing, plastic protector, mailing box, promo card. Now, I am just listing here a series of things that you can add to the expense of this product. You could go ahead and add additional line items. What could we put in here? There was someone on here last week who makes dresses as a business. What else can I put in here? Okay, no response.
You definitely need
Hi,
thread.
Good morning.
There we go. Okay, there we go.
Thread.
But what, you
Good
can
trade.
glue the cloth together?
Okay.
TH.
All right. Oh, sorry. So you see, I added thread. At 50 cents. So you see, I added a line item. You guys can do the same. All I did is right click on here, and I said I need to insert another line. All right. And it would add it, once you put the price of that particular thing in here, it would add it in. Let's say I want to remove a promo card. I'm not putting any promo card in this. I can simply put 0. Get subtracted. So the tool is designed for you to edit it. So you could go ahead, edit it, and come up with these expensive. Depending on what that shipping cost is, you have separate shipping costs based on where it's going. These are not included in the pricing. If I select one, then it would be, all right? The thing is here, right, so these are not added into the prices. You would have to add these into the prices to come up with what is your final cost to getting this product to the consumer. Follow? And we have, I just had a different series. This is a linen skirt. And you're using this per product pricing. So each of your product has a separate pricing. And as I said, you could just copy and paste these forms, these tables, so that based on how many products you're creating, you can just continue to keep adding. It is really important that you understand what your product costs you before you go into any pricing strategy. Before I begin to sell it, I have to understand what it costs me. I have to understand my objectives. So here we have, this is the first pricing structure, pricing model, competition-based pricing. And here it says, please consider there is more than likely factors that affects, excuse my spelling errors, done in a hurry, affects your competitors' pricing that you may not be aware of. Before considering competition pricing, based pricing, you must understand your cost, your market, your projection, and your business strategy. Those things are essential to you. Please take this into consideration. So here, I have the price of my product taken from here. It's going to be included in this particular one. It's included in every price model. See it here? See it here? Because it automatically gets transferred from here. Now, your competitor's price on this particular product similar to yours is $100. If I'm going to base the price of my product based on my competitors, and I say, well, I'm going to price my product at 105, or I'm going to price mine slightly lower than his, or equal to his, or hers, or theirs. So my price is $100. That's what I'm selling for, but it costs me $125. So I'm losing $25, $25.50 on every sale. That is not a good idea. So this is why I said, you may not be aware of other factors that's allowing this company to sell at this price. So before you jump in and you take this as your model, you have to take a lot of other things into consideration, mainly the cost of your product. Any questions? And we go on to show that if you're selling 10 of these products, this is what it would cost. Now, if I choose to sell my product now because I'm selling it based on my cost and what my profit margin that I want, and this would come in a different model. See, all I'm doing is changing numbers, and automatically the tool works for you. So on each of these, I'm making $24.50, which goes into this cost plus pricing. All right. Again, taken cost of the product, $125.50. My projected sales. Again, you need to understand here. You must understand your cost, your market, who you're selling to, your projections. Later in sessions today is going to be about projections, and your business strategy. You need to understand these things. So my projection is that I'm going to sell 50 of these. Each of these costs me 125. I'm selling 50. I'm looking at the percentage markup of 10%. I can do a percentage or I can do a dollar amount. If I choose to do a dollar amount in each of these products, all I have to do is enter that amount. And I want to do a $10 markup on each of these products. See, and automatically tells me what my selling price is going to be and what my gross margin, my revenue, my margin is going to be. $500 I would make if I sell 50 of these. If I do a markup by percentage and I said I want to increase, I'm going to sell by 10% increase on my cost. It tells me that information here as well. I didn't add anything for freemium. Again, the idea of freemium pricing is when companies offer a basic version of a product. This is usually for software. If you're selling software, or if you're selling a particular type of a service and you're looking to upsell on your services, you could offer certain aspect of your services as a freemium, as an entry point into your business. And once that person has gotten used to the services that you're providing, they may want to upsell. They may want to upbuy, so you can upsell them on additional services. Shannon,
Can I jump in on this one, Gilbert?
Sure, go ahead.
All right, guys. So Gilbert mentioned a lot of software as an example. But the freemium model works a lot with services that you give persons access to value over a period of time. And when I say over a period of time, meaning that normally people sign up for either a membership, sign up for a subscription where they pay for the service on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly basis. And you can use the freemium model to get persons to try the product and then have them be upsold to a paid version of the product. Sometimes the freemium model can be a limited time offer where you can start for free, but maybe that free period is only for maybe say a 2-week period. So for example, I know we have at least 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 marketplace owners on the platform. On the program. A freemium model could help you guys to onboard a lot of new customers, show them what is possible with your product, and then you can upsell them later on. You know, even if, let's say, for instance, you operate a fitness service, you know, you could give persons 1 week free to try it and then come back. But once you sell a service or a product that persons pay for access or pay for over a period of time, then you can always try the premium model. I've seen even persons do this with even simple products where, you know, it's not a product that they purchase over a period of time, but even just the core concept of sampling. That's kind of like a freemium model as well, where you give away something free for the person to experience the product and then hope that they will come back and buy later on. So premiums are not only limited to a specific type of product or product model, but it's really just a way how you can give away some value for free to get the customer interested in what it is that you have to offer. And then from there on, you can charge more by adding more value or restricting access to the product that you're giving them the free version of. Back to you, Gilbert.
Thanks, Leighton. Really appreciate that.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, Troy.
Can this be used in the same way you would try to track your costing for promotional products? Say you make a product and you want to promote it and you do like a sample size or something like that. To track that costing, could this be used for that or specifically for the software the model?
I think Leighton was alluding to that. Leighton, you want to take a shot at that?
Right. Yeah, you could definitely use this to track the cost of those free resources that you are giving away. So at the end of the day, every promotion comes at a cost, and people promote in different ways. Sometimes people will take their promoting dollars and put it into marketing ads and so forth. Sometimes people will put their promotion budget into what they call premiums. things that they give away, or sometimes they may put it into product giveaway. So you can use this as a method of tracking, the expense that comes with even your freemium model. What are you gonna give away? What are the costs? How many people you intend to access this? So to also have a more structured approach towards using the freemium model of getting customers in.
Great, thank you.
Go ahead, David.
Hi, good morning. For someone like me who works with a tour operator where we offer different tours, how effective would that tool be for us?
Could you
Right,
just
so
repeat
this
that?
fits right in. So go ahead, Leighton.
I was asking to just repeat that last statement. I hear the tour operator, I didn't hear the question.
Yeah, I work with a tour operator, right, where we offer different tours. All our tours are organized with the different cruise ship. How effective would this tool be in regards to tracking our expenses, or if we have any promotion, especially during this summer when the cruise season is out and we're offering our services to the locals? How effective would this tool be?
Gilbert, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I'm a bit concerned about when you said expense tracking. Right, this tool is not necessarily tracking your expenses, but if you're creating, let's say you're saying you're selling your tours in a package, and you said, okay, if you buy, or if you work with us this week, or if you work with us today, if you buy a package today, we could sell you this at a particular price, and then upsell you and other things that you could probably do on that tool. Possibly, but this does not track expenses. There are other tools for tracking expenses. I could probably get one of the, I know I have a few of those in my toolbox. So those are things that I can share later on if you're looking for something to actually track your expenses.
Well, not necessarily expenses. I was more referring to the contents of this tool.
So go on, explain further, David.
Okay, so basically I work with a tour operator, right?
Uh-huh.
Right. So a while ago I saw you put a business up in regards to the different elements like the zippers, the fabric and stuff like that. I was just asking,
Okay.
right? I was just asking because I'm a tour operator and we have all our organized tours with the cruise ship. How effective would that tool be for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I thought you were talking specifically about the freemium tab here, but yes, this is just as effective, right? Because this is just talking about a product, and your product could be a service. It could be like you're a tour operator. You understand, okay, this tour is going to take me X amount of hours. It requires these elements in order to make this tour happen. I need to drive my customers from point A to point B. Do I have to rent a vehicle? What is the cost of the gasoline for that vehicle? What's the cost of the vehicle, renting the vehicle? All of those things could be added here so that you could come up with a point where you say, this entire thing is going to cost me X. I need to charge my customers Y in order for me to either break even or make a profit. So yes, it does work in this aspect, in that aspect.
Okay.
You just have to figure out all the elements that is going to be required for you to make this particular tour or any of your tour packages successful. And it doesn't matter whether you're doing a tour of a museum or a hiking tour, any sort of things like that. Yes, it does work. You need to understand all the elements involved and put it into the spreadsheet. Again, and the sheet is very simple. Feel free to delete, feel free to add. Last week after I got off, I think, Shan, I thought about this after, and I was like, how could I miss so many simple things? But yeah, I did. When calculating for your hourly rate, because again, I'm a consultant here, take into consideration a living wage. At an early stage of the business, you'd also need to consider healthcare insurance, additional business expense, such as errors and omission insurance, rent, etc. As a consultant, a freelancer, contractor, employment is often sporadic. So to sustain your existence should be considered. Yes, so sustaining your existence should be considered in pricing. So when you're charging hourly rates as a consultant, as a contractor, as a freelancer, sometimes you may have a project that lasts you a year. And sometimes there's an entire year where you don't have a project. And when you see consultants charging prices, you're like, oh, they're expensive. It may seem so, but when you take into consideration all the other things that you have to take into consideration, not really. Because again, sometimes I work a project and that project would run 5 years, 6 years. And that's unheard of. That's more than really, really happens in our industry as consultants. And then there are periods of up to a year or longer where you cannot find a project that is going to pay you at the rate at which is sustainable. So you have to take those things into consideration when you're pricing as a freelancer, a contractor, and as a consultant. Any questions?
I was just waiting for you to get to this part, Gilbert. Because as you rightfully said, as a consultant, you sometimes it's seasonal.
Correct.
I was beating up myself a lot about the seasonal thing, because what happens with me is that, so I will get a client and it will be a one-off payment. So now I'm asking myself, okay, how do I get consistent payment from that client? Is it even possible based on the nature of what I do? Now I see it working for like my friends in sales or my friends in digital, or I see how it could work, but for some reason, because I'm in waste management and I'm on the consulting side, if there's a project and the project ends, then that's the end. I move on to the next project. I can't, I don't see how I can consistently keep up with them or keep engaging them as a paying client, because the work that we do in this sector is so project-based, right? So for me, it is, and you're right, we have to consider taxes, we have to consider, depending on if I have to go on a landfill, for instance, as I had to do with a project, I had to consider liability insurance. That's not always the case, but when I have those instances where I have to physically interact with the waste, as I did, I conducted a residential waste audit. So I was literally digging through people's garbage. I have to consider liability insurance, So I was just wondering, as a consultant, how, if this hourly pricing, so if I have a 3 month project, for instance, which is sometimes very rare in my space, do I still charge by the hour, or if it's 3 months, or do I work it out to be a month? Or because I wanted you to do like a physical example here as well, Gilbert, so I could see how it would work, in developing my own pricing. Leighton, I see Leighton want to tell me something. Thanks.
I didn't realize my mic was unmuted. Gilbert, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so as I said, this has been my day-to-day for the last, I don't know, I've never worked for anyone as an employee, really. Straight out of college, I left college as a consultant and just doing IT solutions, disaster recovery solutions, as I mentioned to you guys before, for government agencies, banks, financial institutions. One of the things I do is, before I begin working a project, if you send me a request, I come in and I do a full analysis. Now, as a consultant, I'm looking at that business and I'm saying, okay, this is what you think you need help with, right? Most of the businesses that I work with, even if they're government agencies, they come with an idea of what they want. And I usually put this in the form of a vehicle. Most people come on and say, oh, I want to buy, most businesses want to buy a Rolls Royce. That's a BMW or Mercedes-Benz level class service. That's what they want. But they only have a budget for a Hyundai, a Hoopty. And then you, as a business analyst, regardless of what you do as a consultant, there has to be a business analyst aspect to your trade. So you are analyzing whatever, even if this is a non-profit organization, you have to walk in with a business analyst cap and analyze where they are, where they want to go. You visualize that journey and what is required to make that trip, right? Your ideal as a consultant is taking them from A to B. And you may have done that so well in that period of time that they might want to keep you on for something else, or they become referrals, right? I don't like staying on, and I'm slightly different from you. Right? I don't like staying on. That is what we call in our world babysitting. After I've finished building your solution, I sit there and I babysit it for a while. I love what I do. I love creating. I love building from scratch. After that is come to fruition, I don't like sitting around with you. I want to move on to the next project as quickly as possible. But yes, the analyst part of it, so they would have hired you to do something in particular because you now sit there and you analyze exactly what they're doing. Sean, you say, well, here's what you need to do to get from A to B. I can guide you along that path. Your budget has got to be one for longevity. Your budget has got to be one that is for maybe you lay out the different options. You come to me with a budget for Hyundai, but you want a BMW. I can price each of those. And I'm going to tell you the result of what you will get. Here's how far it would take you. Right? So along the way, you're actually creating work for yourself while delivering value. Now you have consultants who are just there to milk, and they will try to milk that system as much as possible. I always believe in delivering value. So I'll guide you along the path. And very often you find this comes out to residual work. They say, well, we didn't think of all these additional things that could possibly be done. And then I think of other collaborations that could take place with other people within that space that I'm working with. That's how I tend to create additional work and additional billing hours for my time, for myself. I don't know if that was helpful, Shan, but if it isn't and you want to take this up offline, I'm happy to help you, guide you along based on me taking a look at the businesses that you're involved in.
Yes, Gilbert, I would appreciate that because, you know, as an educator, so let me give you an example, right? So one of the things that I do is that I help businesses who are in the food and beverage space, manufacturers, primarily large supermarkets. Those are my target audiences, right? I help them to monitor and measure their food loss and waste. So the beginning of that exercise typically is like a waste audit, right? So I would go in, I would assess and see, okay, what are all the waste streams that they're generating? What can be considered loss and waste? Because there's a difference between the two things, right? Loss is edible, waste is inedible. And so after that now is to work with them to measure and monitor. Because I have a big dream of running my own facility one day, but getting businesses to monitor and measure their food waste, that's not something that they're paying attention to at all. Because I did some research and I realized that that's what the businesses have been, that's what they said, right? So it's trying to now, okay, figure out, okay, how am I charging for that? So I've created what I call like a master class, where we talk about what their issues are. I share some key points with them, and then they get to ask questions. That's like an hour class, right? But then my next step is, all right, so I want to take them to the next step because they can't do it for themselves because they don't have the expertise in-house. How can I support them after that? And that's always the area where I'm like a deer in headlights because I don't know how to move on beyond that first interaction. So I appreciate the support, and I don't want to take up because I have tons of questions. I always have questions.
All right, so let's talk after. Yeah.
Yes.
Let's talk after.
Please. Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so we try to get to this as possible, Nathan, way into Leighton's time, but this is important. You guys requested this. So you have skimming. Skimming pricing strategy is when companies charge the highest possible price for a new product and then lower the price over time as the product becomes less and less popular. This you see this regularly here in say for instance, we're going to look at an iPhone or an Android phone. As soon as that phone comes out, any new electronics, as soon as they just come out, the price is it's premium pricing, and over a period of time, the price drops. You look at a car, you walk into the dealer and you buy a car, premium price. As soon as you drive it off the lot, depending on what type of car it is, in the United States, BMWs, for instance, right? You go into a BMW dealer, you buy a BMW, take it off, you drive it down the block, you keep it for like a week or so, come back, it would have lost 20% of its value. Yeah. So over time, certain electronic items, certain automotive items, they tend to drop in prices. So luxury products, you go to Macy's and you see a product today and it's X amount. But as that style wanes from today's fashion, the price of those things drop. But you hold on to them a little bit longer and then sometimes it goes back up. But that's not the object of this particular sheet. This sheet is about how do I, and for the first 6 months, the price of my product is X. In the next 6 months, I expect it to drop. I want to drop it because it's less popular to this particular price. And you calculate in what is the eventual outcome at the end of the day. Over the life cycle of this product, what is my final number or margin on this? Right. This allows you, so you might say, all right, this is what it costs me to make this product. I could essentially sell this product for right. I'm selling. You guys hearing me?
Yeah, man, where?
Yes.
Yeah, I just had a terrible feedback there. I don't know where it came from.
Yes.
Yeah, I just had a terrible feedback.
Yes.
So this product is costing me $125. Yeah, I'm having a feedback and I don't know what's coming from.
It's everybody's mic from somebody else as well.
Everybody needs to mute their mic.
How are we doing now? All right, sounds a lot better. All right, so let's say this product is costing me, and don't look at these figures as if they're impossible, right? This is real world. So this product cost me $125. I'm selling it for $1,000. I want to sell 500 units at this price. All right. I see what my gross margin in this product, and I could go on and I say, all right, after 3 months in the market, start losing popularity. I drop it to $500. So it's over a period of time. This is how the sheet works. Over a period of time, you keep reducing the price. And you're going to see what at the end of the day, what your total projected gross margins are looking like. So let's look at it, and I'm going to look at maybe say Kim, right? And Kim brings out a particular nail polish color. And it is popular at first, and everybody wants that color, that nail color. So she's selling it at a premium. Just think of these numbers, Jamaican numbers, right? So $1,000 isn't really much. Jamaican dollar numbers. And then as it gets less popular, she starts charging less for it. Maybe rather than 500 people, maybe only 200 people come in wanting that color now. She could also see that there's a decrease in the request for this particular color. So she starts losing popularity. And then it's getting less and less. So she drops it to $200. Sells 100 of this. You get the idea? But at the end of the day, she's seeing exactly what her total revenue is. That's how this scheme work. It's basically like doing sales. Penetration pricing again. You bring out the product that you want to compete in the market, or maybe a product that you're introducing into the market, and you're trying to penetrate that market. The market already exists, so there may be competitors within their space. So you want to get your name, your product into people's household. It costs you this. And because I want to get in, my competitors, I could take a look at what my competitors are doing. And to me, it's irrelevant what other factors. I know what my budget is in this. I know what I can afford to give away this time because I'm trying to capture market. I'll give you another example. One of my least favorite companies, and I speak about them regularly, Amazon. I had a very good friend from Trinidad, went to college with him. He was selling ice trays, all shape, all size, all colors, really nice ice trays. He had them made in China, and he was making a killing on Amazon. He was doing so well that even while we were in college, he was driving an BMW X6 and his girlfriend was driving an X6, doing really well. Amazon looked at what he was doing and they created ice trays exactly the same. What they did is that they were pricing them 25% lower than he was selling for. So everybody saw that, and Amazon was penetrating that space now. People started gravitating towards the Amazon product because it's exactly the same and it's cheaper. And as soon as he could no longer sustain those numbers, even when he dropped them, Amazon would drop theirs, and he can no longer sustain. And once he was pushed out of the market, Amazon raised their price to above what he was selling for. Penetration pricing. You're trying to enter the market, so you can't put a price that allows you to capture that market. That's essentially what this sheet is. So you, again, you have to understand what your budget is. And this often eats into your marketing budget because you're using this as a market strategy for customer acquisition. Premium pricing, as known as a luxury or prestige pricing. All right. This should be relatively simple to everyone, I'm assuming, but we're going to go in again. You look at a product, it's only costing you $125 to make, but because of the market, who I'm selling this to, and the value that I've built around my brand, I can put a markup on this thing that is only justifiable, not in utility, but in concept. So we look at that slippers that I show you, I can't remember what you guys were calling the Jari, whatever it is. It probably costs maybe $10 in production costs per unit. Or when we look at something like the iPhone that is being sold for $1,200, and you look at the production costs of these things. Maybe it costs $25, maybe it costs $40 in production costs. But he has to sell it at $1,000. Right now, if Apple brings out the phone, yeah, maybe around, because they have built such a great branding, they would be able to get away with this. But let's say they bring out the phone and they say this phone is probably $100, $200. We're going to start questioning that. Why is this phone so cheap? So once you have established brand awareness, that brand projection, create an idea of what your brand is worth, it allows you to price in the premium category. Ronald, I would come back to you on the product that you're creating, right? That is not something that someone needs to believe that it's a luxury brand. I can look at your product, look at your process and see this is a luxury product that you create. It's a one-of-a-kind product. So when you look at your production cost, if your production cost in one of those books is 125, and you, again, you're making a very minute amount of these products. So let's say you make one of 10 pieces. So I'm only going to sell 10 pieces of that particular thing, right? But I want to upsell that by 125%. Right, so you're selling that thing that costs you 125. Let's go up even further. Want to upsell this by 500%, 500%. So you're now selling that unit for $750 a piece. I'm only selling 10. I've created 10 of these things. It took me time. When I take my labor, when I take everything into consideration, I could only produce 10. I only had enough material for 10. And I want to sell it, I'll sell it at $500 a piece because these are collector's items. That's the idea behind this. You really didn't need this spreadsheet to do that, but it's here as a tool for you. And this is, again, go back to Shan. This is people who do service, and you don't want to do it by an hourly rate. I could look at a project and say, well, if I charge an hourly rate, I know this project is probably going to cost me, it was going to cost me 50 hours, right? Short projects, small projects. For me, like if I'm doing a small project, if one of my ex-clients or one of my clients call and say, well, we have a challenge here today, we need you to come in. I don't charge you for every hour that I'm spending there. If I look at it, and hypothetically, I know, oh, I'm going to finish this within 4 hours. I'm charging by the day for that project. I'm saying, okay, I'm coming, I'm going to spend a day with you, and here's my daily rate. Because if I have to get dressed and leave my house and get on the train and get to your offices, even if it takes me a half an hour to fix it, again, depends on the client, or 2 hours to fix it, I'm charging you my daily rate. And a project, remember, a project could be a one-day project. It's just from the beginning. This is the challenge. I have completed the objective. It's done. So I'll charge you the hourly rate, for the daily rate for that. I charge you based on that project. Because for me, it's more cost effective. All right, value-based pricing. Here, companies price products or service based on what the customer is willing to pay. Leighton, you want to jump in and talk about this?
Which one is this? Value-based pricing?
Value-based pricing. I know you touched on it. I don't remember you touched on this not last week, but week before. No, it's last week in this session. You were talking about value-based pricing. People paying what they think something, what customers pay is what they think it's worth.
Right. At the end of the day, value-based pricing is a tricky pricing model. Oftentimes, it is really based on pricing tolerance of the market, because value is perceived differently based on the spending power of different persons. So somebody who has a lot of money to spend may be looking to buy a car, right? And let's talk in USD pricing. Somebody is looking for an economic car, may choose to buy something under say $40,000, right? Or $30,000. Of course, this may work out into a payment plan, and that works out to maybe a month of say $500 per month, for argument's sake, just to put a random number over there. And another person may say, boy, that's a very cheap, it's a very cheap buy. They may choose to spend their money on something that is worth $100,000. At the end of the day, value-based pricing has a lot to do with perception. It is oftentimes based on how you position your brand to sell the products that you sell. So if it is that you want to sell that same $10 slippers for $200 versus the person who is selling that $10 slippers for $50, you have to position yourself in a way that allows persons to see value in the way that you want them to perceive it. So value-based pricing, a lot of it is based on perception. At the end of the day, the key thing here is that value-based pricing also may include a number of the different models that you'll have heard Gilbert talk about earlier, which includes, you know, hourly-based pricing, meaning that, you know, a junior consultant versus a senior consultant provides different types of value. You know, how do you price that that value and communicate that value to your customer is where the key is where that is concerned. You know, so at the end of the day, everything really comes down to market tolerance, because I'll tell you that my consulting fees to Jamaica is different from my consulting fees regionally, different from my consulting fees internationally. It comes back down to pricing tolerance and what I know people are willing to pay for this value based on the market that they're in, you know. So that's definitely one of the key considerations. Oftentimes in value-based pricing, your bottom line is not so much of a great consideration. Yes, of course, you want to make as much margin or put as much markup on your product as you want to, but at the end of the day, oftentimes in value-based pricing, because you're not looking at, you know, being a cheap product, where you can offer cheap products in value-based pricing. You always have to consider your bottom line, but at the end of the day, you know, changing what that price may be based on the perceived value really comes down to the pricing tolerance of most markets that you're in.
Yeah, thanks, Leighton. Again, at the bottom of the sheet, it says value-based pricing works well in price-sensitive industries, be it for product, events, and services, especially when it comes to events. Like right now, we are planning an event to take place in November. It's a regional conference on logistics, right? And when you look around at different prices to attend events like these, you say, wow, it means $3,000 to get in, and I'm talking $3,000 US to some events. I'm like, but the idea is when you price it at that, people feel as if they're getting something of significant value. If you price it any lower, they begin to wonder, is this worth it? Is this worth getting into? Right. So it's a very sensitive pricing structure. And again, it's usually around sensitive industries, right? Perceived value. All right, so that was the full recap of the spreadsheet and how you can actually use it. Again, it is completely 100% editable. You could just go in and change the fields as you see fit, add fields, change your numbers, add additional formulas in it if you so please. But if you add formulas to it and you make it better, feel free to share it with us again. Any questions?
Yes, I have my hand raised.
Oh, couldn't see it, sorry.
For the value-based pricing, because of the perception, could you put a minimum cost?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Again, at the end of the day, right? You're not in business to lose, right? Whether let's take this, let's look at this, right? Whether you are a business for profit or non-for-profit, you're either seeking greater efficiencies, operational efficiencies, business efficiencies, or you're looking to reduce your costs, or you're looking to make a profit or increase your profit. So it has to fit into one of those. And how do you know? What are your indexes? How are you measuring this? Your key performance indexes. You have to have a baseline and says, well, I am doing well based on this particular number. So you have to understand what your cost is first before you say, okay, I am going to do this other thing. Otherwise, you're losing.
Just to also make that a little bit more relevant as well. Here's a working example based on a consulting engagement that I'm in right now. So I recently did an evaluation of some Jamaican products that are being sold internationally and doing some price comparison between different sellers of the products and you know what they list them as. And there's this there's a seasoning and sauce company in Jamaica called the Walker's Wood, which carries a very strong brand name internationally. And I was looking at, I'm working with a marketplace provider who is selling their products as well, just trying to figure out, you know, where are their price points, and you know, who is the target market based on these price points. When I evaluated the Walker's Woods pricing model, I saw where here in Jamaica you would have been able to get that Walker's Wood jerk sauce for only 6 ounce little bottles. You know, like the pepper bottles, those sizes, they're not too big, not too small. Well, not too big, but actually small, right? 6 ounces. And they were pricing this in Jamaica for under $2 USD. So you're not talking about maybe $100 Jamaican dollars, which would be less than $2 USD, right? But when you looked at their Amazon pricing, their pricing on Amazon was like $6.35. Now, of course, there are different considerations that may go into that Amazon price, Amazon listing. One, there is of course the cost, the bottom line cost to create the product and make it available to Amazon. Then there are the costs that they are incurring by just being listed on Amazon, you know, and then there are their margins that they may choose to increase. So you're seeing where by selling the product into the US market through Amazon, they have at least tripled to 4 times their product pricing based on the market that they're selling to. And they can list this product at this price because of the perceived value of the product. It is authentic Jamaican. It is known to be a guaranteed Jamaican-based product. And there are many markets out there that are looking for Caribbean-based products, whether it is to connect with a particular country's culture, whether it is that their diaspora natives are living in these different jurisdictions and want to consume the products that they've known to come and love from home. There are different reasons why persons will want to buy this particular jerk sauce over another one on the shelf, you know, and because of that perceived value to the customer, they're able to charge these premium prices and still make the sale, you know. So that's a quick example of, you know, how value and its perception can allow you to price at a much higher rate for different markets. But of course, at all times, there are the costs factors to consider, and I'm going to be talking about that in my next in the next discourse before getting into our e-commerce engagement. But I'll allow Gilbert to finish up here before we move on to that.
Joy, you were the one that asked that question, right? Oh, yeah.
And I have one more question. Does the spreadsheet offer currency conversions?
No, because again, currency conversion could be, there are few stable currencies in the world, right? So Jamaica could be what that currency is today, but that exchange could be today, and tomorrow it's different. The EC dollar is probably EC, Bajan, Cayman, Bahamian, very few stable current Canadian. So we don't put that stuff into here. You can do that. You can find that those numbers online pretty easily.
Well, what I would say is that, remember guys, that the spreadsheet that you're getting from Gilbert is a blank canvas. You can determine which currency you want to list your product in, and if you want to have a conversion, you can just add the next column so that with the conversion to the currency that you want to convert to.
Yeah, just look at the numbers as your local dollars, whatever it is, or if you want to change it to a different, not a dollar, but say a peso or whatever it is, just assume the same thing. And so you were asking about value a while ago and with your tours, right? Let's say for instance, you typically do a tour with 10 people, 20, and you know, but today there is a couple that are asking you to do a tour with just them, just the two of us. You have to understand, again, what is my cost to do this? This is an exclusive, and you say, well, I'm doing this exclusively for you guys. Here's what's involved, and I'm going to charge you. I know that this is what I typically make if I do 10. These companies have all of my attention, all of my time. It's them alone in this particular tour. I can upsell them. I can sell them at, if I typically make $1,000, I can probably charge them $2,000. You guys, if they're asking for something that exclusive, a lot of times they perceive what you have as valuable and they would be willing to pay for it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No other questions. All right, guys. So, oh, Jasmine, go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. In my field, I mean, the pricing tool here seems like an excellent tool. However, I do work in retail and we do sell meats, for example, pork. And there are so many factors in terms of pricing because you have the dress weight and then you have loose water, you have shrinkage, you have wastage. With this pricing structure, how would this help us? With all those different factors you have to put in place.
Okay, so again, you have to go back to the very first sheet, right? And if you notice in the first sheet, you have different a different product type. So you selling, and I'm assuming that you're selling your meat products by the pound.
Yes.
Right. So you would have established what each category of your beef or your pork is worth, or first what it costs you, and then what you assume the market would be willing to pay for it. Right. So
yes,
if you're worrying about shrinkage by the time you get it and to the time you sell it. So if I buy it and it's a particular weight, now because it's full of water, by the time I get it to the shelf and all of that stuff, and that the shrinkage, the weight would have dropped. So I would have been paying X amount per pound, but my poundage by the time I'm willing to sell it is way less.
Yes.
Right. So again, those are formulas that you have to work out. This is what so before it gets to customer would be your actual cost. So at the final shrinkage, that will be what your actual cost is. If I'm paying $10 per pound and it's filled with water, and by the time, and then I bought 100 pounds. But by the time I get to the point where I'm ready to sell it to the customer, I'm down to 50 pounds. So essentially, I would have paid $20 per pound.
Yeah.
So you would have calculated your cost based on that, right? So that is the cost that you would have to put into that spreadsheet.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Anyone else? All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Leighton. Leighton, yeah, sure.
All right, thanks for that, Troy. You can stop sharing so that I can take over.
Okay. I stopped sharing a while ago.
Yeah, I just realized. All right, guys, so we're at the halfway mark of today's session. I'm going to offer you guys a 5-minute break before getting into our next discourse, but I want to tell you what's on the other end of that 5-minute break. First and foremost, I'm going to jump into some of my own thoughts on some of the things that Gilbert mentioned a while ago based on pricing strategy, especially as it relates to that question about the approach for consultants and so forth. I want to share my own experience in coming up with my pricing model to you guys, so that for those who are in the consulting space, you can learn that. Then we're going to delve into e-commerce and financial projections. Now that you know your price, or now you're trying to figure out, what you understand how to price, how do you project that pricing in a way that makes sense for your business? Now, all of this information, as you mentioned, is very important before knowing how to activate a strategy, and I will explain to you why all of these things are important, right? The next, the actual financial projection is actually the next workbook assignment as well. So you guys want to tune in 100%. So I'm going to give you a 5-minute break. It's now 10:37. We resume at 10:42 to be exact on my end. 5 minutes exactly. Don't stay too long away. You don't want to miss out on any of this. And for those who are in the consulting space, you want to ensure that you're maybe 1 minute early, right? We're going to start back on time. So take a 5-minute break, refresh, get something to drink, use the bathroom if you need to, wash off your face if you feel a little bit sleepy, right? And let's come back in 5 minutes exactly to just jump into some more of this. You don't want to miss this element for a second, you know. So thanks for that, Gilbert, going back over the pricing models and considerations. That is key for the next set of conversations we're about to have. All right, 5 minutes, guys. And feel free to keep your speakers on loud so that you know when we're resuming. Yeah. All right, guys, we have exactly 1 minute to go. So we have exactly 1 minute to get back to around your computers or your devices. All right, guys. So we are back. I hope that you guys are feeling a little bit refreshed and ready to go for the second half of today's session. I am looking for the slideshow. All right. So the question was asked earlier about pricing for consultants and how do we really maneuver this pricing space in a way that makes sense for us, for our time, for our efforts, and also to keep us engaged with our prospective customers. And Gilbert hit the nail on the head earlier when he mentioned his personal preference for his consulting engagements, where he's on a project and when his project is done, he's on to the next one. And that type of engagement oftentimes keeps your work very exciting. You're always working on something new and so forth. And then there are other persons who now want to create some consistent income and some security from these engagements, whereby you work with a company on a project and you are continuously engaging with them over a period of time, and there are different ways to go about doing it. At the end of the day, guys, one of the primary things that I want to highlight here is that it comes back down to your engagement model. Everything when you think about how you are priced, how you are structured, how customers pay you, all come back down to how you engage your customers from a contractual perspective, right? So, and feel free to jump in here. I'm going to use the example of the solid waste management example. Feel free to jump in if you have any additional questions on any area that I'm speaking on. But when you think about providing consulting services in an ongoing way, this is how I have done it. It is something that I have struggled with in the past, and I've tried different things that have worked at different degrees. But this is where I've landed, and maybe where I've landed can help those who are trying to land somewhere there as well. I'm not going to tell you that my working example is the perfect example, but it is working for me so far, right? Bottom line, guys, is that when you look at time-based pricing for human assets, there's always a limitation on person's time. So you want to definitely see how you can get the most value for the time spent with that customer, right? And as a consulting entity or resource, you may price your hourly rate based on different types of value. And this is what I mean when I said that value-based pricing can include different types of pricing models as well. So though you are looking to charge an hourly rate, you can charge an hourly rate at different price points for different things, whether it is you alone that is providing the consulting service, or it is that you have a team of persons providing the consulting service. What do I mean by this? Let's use the example of my pricing model. In my own business, I run a technology company that focuses on digital transformation called Get Paid Group. We provide e-commerce platforms, website development services, communication systems, everything that you really need to consider, are the main things that you need to consider from a technology perspective that requires you to get online in a scalable way, right? When customers come to me, oftentimes it is for our websites. And I have always asked myself, how can I get more value from my customers? How can I grow with my customers? How can I set up myself in a way where my customers are so engaged with me that they come to me to solve all their problems? Or there's an engagement model that sees them engaging with me for a period of time that allows me to, whether it is meet my financial targets on my end or deliver the intended value that I want to enter, right? So everything, for example, must start, guys, on how you are engaged with the client from a contractor perspective. Now, the question was, it was mentioned that most times engagement is on a project level, and it's difficult to move on past that project level. And I definitely understand where it is concerned, because again, that's where I'm coming from as well. I'm getting these projects, but after the project is done, I don't engage with the customer either ever again or for a very long time. And at the end of the day, when you understand the lifetime value of your customers and what that can do for your business, you always want to position yourself in a way that allows you to unlock that lifetime value from the customer. Without looking at your engagement model, you will never, ever be able to achieve that. So first and foremost, you have to look at how it is that you are engaged with the customer, meaning that what value is being provided to the customer, how is that value structured, and how is the customer paying for that value, right? Let's break it down a little bit further. So let's use the example of, again, my website and maybe solid waste management. I don't know much about waste management, and you can jump in here and give me some insight if I'm getting it wrong, or if it is that you are agreeing with me, or if it is that you think there's another way for this, right? But when I used to present to customers, I used to present to them, they come to me for a solution to a problem. They come to me with a problem, I present a solution to fix that problem. I fix that problem now, right? And I will tell them, all right, it's going to take me 6 months to complete the website for you, or in your case, you're going to say that, all right, it's going to take me a year to complete the project for you in waste management, right? And you give them a quotation for that year. And you're not working on that project only for the entire year, right? But the duration of the engagement would last a year. If it is that you say that, boy, all right, I'm going to be using these resources, whether it is time-based resources or actually product-based resources, you put together a quotation and you send it to them, and they approve it and they say, all right, yeah, man, let's go. And you work with them for a year, they pay you for that year, and that is it. Or maybe it is for a few weeks, and that is it, right? How do you price? First of all, how do you price that engagement? Comes down to, again, your engagement model. So this is how I recommend it. What I recommend doing is, first and foremost, providing a detailed quotation. I like to present quotations that kind of act as contracts. If it's not in the quotation, you're not getting it. Because when you are doing consulting work, a lot of the information that persons understand and digest is very subjective. You present it in this manner, the customer understands it in another manner. However, when you put it on a quotation or in a contract that says, these are the things that you're getting at this price point, and if it is that you want more and it is not listed here, then you have to come back for more, because these are things that cause project scope creep and projects being over budget, under budgeted, and so forth. Be very clear in your engagement model to your customers about what it is that they're paying for and the details of it, right? In this case, you'll see here, I have a table up here. This is an example of setting up a website, an e-commerce website for a client. And what you'd have seen here are all different deliverables against the project that needs to be executed. A description of those deliverables, as well as a time commitment. Now, you will notice that, there's almost like a $50, a flat $50 expense, a flat $50 cost. Somebody's unmuted, unless you're saying something. Ramona, can you help find that person unmuted, please? Ramona. Is it Irene? I think it is Irene. All right, they found them. All right. So you'll notice that there's a time allotment beside each cost. Now, what we've done here is to map out all the deliverables of the project, the time associated with the project, and the cost associated with the project. And then when we sit down with the client, we present to them a summarized table. So that would have been an appendix to the proposal. But what you'll have seen is a summarized table of what the costs are what the total man hours been, at the number of hours that we will actually spend on the project and over the period of time. It's difficult oftentimes to track a project that is running for weeks and months if you're not tracking man hours against that project. So that's one thing to consider. All right. And then so this is how I structured the project's quotation. But again, as I realized that we're not really getting the engagement that we want from it, And why is that so? This is because I was pricing the project only for execution purposes. Now, another company came to me more recently for a proposal. And this one was, again, an opportunity to help them to fix some issues that are happening with their website. And in a sense, what I did first and foremost was I changed the engagement model. I decided that I was going to, first and foremost, set up myself to sign a longer term contract. So instead of signing a contract for a year, sign a contract for 3 years, 2 years, right? So we setting up ourselves for a longer sale, a bigger sale. And then what I did was to break down my proposal in 3 phases. You have the creation of the strategy. So whatever project needs to be executed, unless a strategy is handed to you, how will you execute the project in a way that meets the business requirements? The requirements of the business or serve the goals of the business, if there's no strategy handed to you. So what you started to do was to offer strategy creation as part of the engagement. And then from there, you would have the execution, the management of the execution or project management, whatever it is that you term it in your field, right? And then thereafter, we have performance management. Now, I heard you mention about, I don't remember what the terminology that was used, if it was food or waste. It's waste management, I don't remember what it was, the terminology that was used. Sometimes people are not willing to pay for the things that we think they're willing to pay for. What we need to do is find the things that impact their KPIs. So if, let's say, for instance, in waste management, they have a KPI that says that persons must not have garbage sitting in their yards for more than in excess of 4 weeks, for argument's sake, because we know it's going to cause rats and everything that comes with that, right? And that could be a KPI that you directly seek to support. Some of the time, I say, guys, when we package our products and services, we package them based on what we think persons need. But when we look, if we want to hit the nail on the head, look at the KPIs that are valuable to the business. Look at the things that make persons call executive meetings, like get people busy. You understand? And try to target those types of KPIs. So in this engagement model, what you would have seen here is that I could have gone in and created a strategy. Then from that strategy is where we would have created the execution plan, which would have looked something like this with the cost of time and so forth. And then afterwards, you look at the monitoring component from there. And the monitoring component could be the babysitting period, like what Gilbert talked about earlier, where it's maybe just for a few weeks or months after the project is engaged, or it could be on a periodic basis where you are responsible for monitoring this thing monthly, yearly, and based on the charge for your time, right? Another thing as well to keep in mind, guys, you can, when you're creating your quotation, let's say, for instance, you have different resources being used on the project. So you have a senior consultant, you have a junior consultant, and you have maybe an intern. You price them at different rates, and based on the scope of what they need to undertake, the pricing is different, right? So for instance, you could have an entire quotation broken down here, and based on the deliverables from the different roles, you put a per hour rate, and then you put the associated cost, decide that to match the pricing accordingly, right? So these are some tips, guys, that I wanted to share with you guys as it relates to how you look at engaging persons in a consulting manner. One last tip as well that I will mention is that one thing I did for this particular project was that I said to them that, hey, listen, you don't have to pay me everything up front. Pay me today only for the strategy. The first month's work, which is to create the strategy. If you accept the strategy, then we can proceed and you can pay me the rest. You know, sometimes consultants have a bad reputation in the Caribbean of delivering absolutely nothing or telling persons that they already know, right? So some of the times to overcome that and to get the sale, you have to prove yourself. And as far as I'm concerned, if you are selling something that you believe is of value, then you should have no problem proving yourself. So what I did was I told them that, hey, listen, you don't have to pay for everything up front, lower your risk, pay for the first month. If you don't have it's actually you don't need to continue, you know. But of course, that's just stakes, because we all know that you know, if you're going after a contract, you're going after the contract to deliver. But it got the person signing off immediately, and then it also now initiated ongoing engagement with the client. Now, this engagement is supposed to cover 6 months. But at the end of the day, I know that after 6 months, these guys are going to need more support. I would have built something that is becoming so ingrained in their business that you're going to want consistent support from it once it is working. And that's one of the key things, guys. Once your solutions are working as a consultant, remember, you know, as consultants, you provide solutions to problems. If your solution is working, then persons will automatically want more, will give you more problems to solve. If it is that you structure your engagement model in a way where you are able to establish trust and have an ongoing engagement with the customer, then you are better set up for long-term ongoing revenue with that particular client, right? Tamara, I see you have your hand up.
Hey, how are you? I love that. I just wanted to kind of add to that, especially from the top of the funnel standpoint, engaging with customers. One of the things we've done is we do a show, Call Your Business in Digital, that we broadcast across Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And what that has done is that has consistently kept business coming, because people are always listening, people share. And I started on Clubhouse as well. I was doing it on Clubhouse for a little bit. And I spent a year doing the show. So we built trust with people. And then once people wanted business, they came to us. But it kept us super visible all the time. We're starting the show back in March because now that is a pure sales strategy for us, because people know they can come, they can listen, they can build the trust. We can collect their email addresses. We've been working on some quizzes to nurture them a little bit more. So things that kind of move them through that process where they feel as though I already know you. So especially with the waste management piece, I wanted to add that for that, because I think there's an opportunity, because it's so new, to start with an education tool like a YouTube, like a video, like something that you can do, right? We're at the stage where we can all have our own show at this point, right? There's no reason that we shouldn't. So for waste management, something like that gets people listening and learning, and you would be surprised that it's such a great way to nurture people and keep people within that funnel. And then you can add, you know, what Leighton talked about is another layer of strategy that you can add to that. So I definitely see a top of the funnel, and then this is more of a middle to end of funnel, as well as re-engaging people. So just wanted to add that.
Thanks for that tidbit, Tamara. I'd love to hear more about that when we're talking about lead generation, as that's one of our modules later on, guys. So that's a nice.
That's all right. I plan to invite you to the show, so I had to let you know about it.
And just, there's another comment. Was there another comment? Okay. Also, I'd just like to say, and just on top of that, as we close out this conversation, guys, in today's world, content is king. I can't say it enough. At the end of the day, in the world of e-commerce, where persons are searching for solutions to their problems online, the person who has the most content out there on what it is that you're selling oftentimes becomes the most trusted source, the easiest person to find, and the person who will get the most business, bottom line. So even in my own business, I just hired a content creator just to write blogs, produce content on what we're doing. I mean, she's still learning, because my type of work is very technical, but at this point in time, it doesn't even matter how techy she gets with it. She just needs to produce content, and she'll get better and better and better and better and better as she's going on. So content is key. I want to encourage persons to leave as much content out there as is possible. I saw, is it Shan had her hand up just now?
Yes, I do. My question is, how do you factor in time taken to receive information from the client that they are taking a very long time to provide? So if you are So I had that experience, right? Where I had a client, I estimated, okay, this is going to take 4 weeks, and it ended up taking 9 because the client wasn't able to provide the information to me in a timely manner. The key person who they had to get the information from, unfortunately, passed away, so I had to give them time to deal with that, and so it just pushed the end date back and back and back. But I didn't factor that in, so I kind of cut off my nose to spoil my face, as we say in Trinidad, because I didn't factor time for that.
Right.
So how do you factor in time for that, for things that are beyond your control sometimes?
Right. All right. So that's a very good question. And once you're into consulting and projects, engaging in any type of work that requires time management, this I will say is the sorest point of that type of work, because at the end of the day, when you rely on people to give you information to do your work, and you cannot take the first step without getting that information, it becomes a very problematic issue on your end. How I approach this is that I don't charge for time that I'm not working. I charge for deliverables and time spent on the deliverables, right? So that's the first thing. So for example, if I'm going to charge somebody a monthly fee on something, I itemize what's in that monthly fee and how that works. And then also, of course, have stipulations, clear stipulations around what happens if it is that persons are not able to honor their agreements and how those are treated. Now, different industries will treat those in different ways. But what I will say, there's actually an element of this in this particular page that I'm actually showing you, where in our projects, again, when we're doing website development, we have to collect content from our customers. And when customers delay on providing that content to us, it makes that very big issue. Now, if the customer is delaying on providing the content to me, I'm not really working because I haven't got the content as yet. But what I do is I actually have a line item in here for content collection as part of the cost that we hear, because we have somebody who is following up, chasing this person, and I plan for it as part of my cost. So I include content collection as part of that engagement and assign hours to those things. Now, when it comes to these things, you have to also plan for the unknown. So you always want to leave a little buffer in there in case you have to spend some extra time on something. But I actually charge for it. I don't just bundle up everything and say, all right, we're going to be working for 6 months. This is your monthly fee. I know you need to provide this. No, I actually state that, all right, you need to provide this. These are the things that you're paying for. So even if, let's say, for instance, if just in case I'm able to actually work on other things while waiting on the content collection, because I'm not charging them for time not spent collecting the content, it doesn't matter much to me, it does delay my cash flow, which unfortunately is something that's very difficult. We can't beat them and take information from them. We literally have to wait for them to provide it to us, although they are paying us to do the work, So it's a difficult situation to maneuver, but what I will say is that, again, just looking back at your engagement model, if you choose to itemize these things and price for that expected time to collect the content, and have an allotted amount of time, communicate that time to the customer, that, hey, we have a window of 2 weeks to collect this. We'll be engaging maybe once or twice a week over the next 2 to 4 weeks, for argument's sake. And if it passes that, then these are the ramifications, blah, blah, blah. Of course, these things impact project timelines as well, so you have to communicate those changes. But from a pricing perspective, I'll say itemize it, price for it, overstate the pricing if it is that that this particular industry, like for instance, for me personally, I find the financial industry the most difficult industry to work with when it comes to getting content from them. These guys are under constant pressure, and these projects oftentimes are not their biggest priority. Yes, it needs to come to fruition within a particular time frame, but they have their managers and directors over their backs about the numbers and other KPIs that they need to meet. Very difficult set of person to work with. So these are some of the things that you can consider. I hope that helped you with that question.
Thank
All
you.
right. All right, so let me actually get into, so I'm already sharing screen. All right. How do I zoom this? I can do this. Are you guys see my screen or is it too small? Guys, see my screen clearly? Just let me know, please.
If you could
Yeah, it looks
zoom
good
in
later.
a little bigger would be okay if you could.
All
Right,
right.
Yes, thank you.
Let's see, 125. Does this work for you? Much better?
It works. It works much better, thanks.
All right, guys. So Gilbert has done a brilliant job of talking to you guys about your pricing model. How is it come with pricing? This segment of the conversation focuses on projecting that pricing and revenue from those assumptions and decisions that you have taken. Why is all this important? Because at the end of the day, guys, if we're going to be setting up e-commerce systems, e-commerce strategies, marketing strategies, everything has to be geared towards meeting a financial goal. And we have to be able to clearly see that financial goal and understand how different products, product categories, and acts and activities contribute towards that financial goal, right? So today we're going to be sharing with you a mock-up that we did for Kim's Beauty, and also showing you guys an empty template that you guys can use or will be using to create your own versions of this document on your end. We're getting some.
Troy, it's Troy. Troy, could you mute your mic, please?
I'm muting already.
Okay.
Okay, great. All right, yeah, man. Right. So coming back to this document, so as I said, you know, Gilbert will have gone through the decisions for pricing and how you price your products. Now, let's talk about price listing. So before we can sell anything, guys, before we can sell any product, to me, the first thing that you must come with is a price list, right? You can have marketing material, you can have every single thing ready to promote your business and your products, but you can't sell one thing until you know what your prices are. It's important to understand at a basic level what price you'll be selling things at, what costs are you incurring to sell at that price, and what profit margin or markup you'll be making whenever you sell at that particular rate, right? So the first thing that we're going to ask persons to do is to create a price list using this document. So we have here again an example of Kim's Beauty's price list and Kim's revenue model. Here you have your company's prices, which is a blank canvas right now. We want you guys to go in and drop in the category of the product, the name of the product. And it's important to understand, let me also break this down. It's important to understand how to structure your price list, because all of these things impact how you represent your product list in the e-commerce platform. Everything starts right here where e-commerce is concerned and setting up in e-commerce. Because remember, guys, we're selling products online for a specific price, right? So this is how you start to organize yourself from an e-commerce perspective. So organize yourself to sell using e-commerce, right? So you have your product categories. In the case of Kim's Beauty, we have broken down product categories into beauty services, beauty products, raw material, courses, wedding packages, right? These are different categories of products that she sells. Then you have under beauty services, you have things like hair wash, hair cut, hair style. Beauty products include lipstick, makeup, raw material include castor oil. Courses is just a makeup class for now. And for wedding packages, for today, it is just bridal party makeup, right? It could include hair styling as well as another option. And I'm sure there are many other options that females can think about where packages are concerned for Kim's Beauty. But these are the basic ones that we want to start with. Now you will see here in column C, we have the pricing. This is the price that we're going to sell at. This is the price that we're going to list on the website for these products. Then we have our cost, right? And then we have our profit margin. Now, one thing that you could add to this as well to make it fully complete is the inventory, right? You could add inventory to this where you actually list the total number of these things that you have to sell, right? And we could go as far as SKU numbers and all those different things, right? But why is it important?
1 second, Leighton, because what you just mentioned is really, really critical that you have inventory, especially if you sell into multiple channels and it's not a unified inventory management system. So you need to know, I have X amount available for my store and I have X amount available for my online sales.
Right. Now, why is it important to understand product categorization? When you're selling online is no different from walking through a supermarket, right? And you know, when I say walking through a supermarket, I mean, how is it that you find goods in the supermarket aisle when you are shopping? Now, when you walk into a supermarket, I mean, there are some really large supermarkets here in Jamaica, mimicking the Walmarts and these different types of entities in the US. And oftentimes you'll get lost in these supermarkets just looking for products. And nothing frustrates me more than whenever the supermarket rearranges its floor plan, or I go into a new supermarket and I cannot find the products that I'm looking for. Very frustrating. Oftentimes, the only reason why I continue looking for a product is because I'm already there. When you're online, guys, you do not have that luxury. Persons land on your website, oftentimes because of something you advertise or something they're searching for, they want to find that product very, very, very quickly. And because of that, you need to categorize your products so persons can find what they're looking for easily. So if I'm looking for a biscuit in the supermarket, I'm going to be walking first and foremost into the area of the supermarket that maybe either has baked goods or maybe has snacks, right? I used to use the example of bread. I'm going to walk into the baked goods aisle, right? The place that sells all of the bun, the bread, everything that is baked. Then I'm going to walk into the bread section, right, to pick up that bread. You're not going to have me walking up and all around the supermarket wondering, hey, where can I find the bread? Where can I find the bread? No, I'm going to look specifically for the area that I know that my products are most likely to be in. Similarly with our website, guys, you don't want to just throw your products on the website in a jumbled manner. You want to organize them in a way where persons can easily find them. So use the example of our Rev Jewelry. This is a local company here in Jamaica that makes handmade jewelry items. We did their website some time ago, integrated with a regional payment processor called Figaro, provided by First Atlantic Commerce as well. Now, this particular website, you land on the website, the first thing will say shop now, which brings of course to your shopping page, right? And we can show you quickly what that shopping page looks like. But before you even get there, say for instance, you wanted to scroll further, immediately again right away, we're showing you what your different product categories are so persons can easily find what they're looking for. And this is the main reason for categorizing your products, guys, so that when we upload the products into the system or you upload the products in the system, you can easily, or customers can easily find what they're looking for because of how you've been so organized, right? This is what the shop page may look like. You know, you list all the products. And again, on your left-hand side, you have all the categories that persons will look for your products in. So, you know, if you're selling hundreds or thousands of products, it's different from when you're selling 10 or 20 or 50. Once you're selling over 100, over 50 products, I always recommend the person that, hey, you need to have your categorizations clear so that people can easily find a product. This is one of the things that make or break an e-commerce website, right? So as you notice here on your shop page, it is all jumbled together, right? Based on how you import. Oftentimes it shows the most recent product first and shows the oldest one last. But of course, you can come to your shopping categories here and determine, all right, I want to see all the sandals and anklets that this company has to sell. You click on that particular product and it brings you to that product here. So no longer are you scouring through an entire product list, or maybe it is that you land on the home page and you saw that product category and you went straight for it. But no longer are you hovering around toward the website trying to find these products. You have a very clear path to sale. And organizing that path to sale starts with how you organize your price list, right? So I can't make that any more clear than it needs to be, all right? So price, so you have the categories, you have the products, price list, cost, the margins. Those are the key information you need to be able to project out, right? Okay, so now let's look at Kim's beauty revenue model. So of course, guys, before putting together these prices, you're going to take all the considerations that apply to your business based on what Gilbert just spoke about to come up with your pricing, you know. And of course, guys, do your research, do some comparative checks. If it is that you're going to be pricing double your competitor, you have to have a reason why. Clearly, you're selling value. How do you communicate that value, right? But it's important to understand your price. As I mentioned to you, when I was working with that marketplace provider to understand where they were positioned in the market, I didn't look at how they chose to position themselves. What I look at is their prices and who can afford these prices. Because at the end of the day, guys, we're selling products. We're not here to create products and showcase them. We're here to sell them, right? So everything starts with who is able to afford these things. What are we selling? Who can buy them at this particular price? Because best believe that, you know, company A in St. Lucia and company B in Jamaica are dealing with two different realities, two different material costs, two different environmental and political landscapes, right, that they have to maneuver. Very important to understand why you're pricing what you're pricing and who will be buying it at that particular rate. And of course, when I look at now, how much money will we make if we price it like this? And that's where we're trying to get to at this point in time. Once we have done that, then we can start activating e-commerce strategies that will help us to meet those financial goals. At the end of the day, guys, can't say it anymore. E-commerce is a sales channel. It can be an entire sales business, but it is a sales solution. And selling should always be based on targets, right? Once you're in the sales game, you're not talking targets and not selling. All right. Kim's Beauty's revenue model. Let's talk about that now. All right. So this is a document that I came into some time ago from the Jamaica Business Development Corporation here in Jamaica that I did some work with. And it has been an invaluable resource to me since then. And I've used this document time and time again in any engagement that I'm in. I've used it for clients, and every single time I go through it, people are fairly wowed by the simplicity and just how clearly they can see their business. I was never able to project my business as clearly as I can today before coming into this document. So I want to share with you how you work with a document like this. All right. So what this is a profit and loss projections document. It allows you to list the products that you have for sale at the price points that you want to sell them for in every month of the year. So if it is that you notice that, boy, at a certain time of the year, I may have a particular product. Let's say those of us who sell things that use natural resources that may not be in stock sometime of the year, and because of it not being in stock for this particular time of year, I'm not selling it at this particular time of year. You can easily represent that time of year that you don't sell those particular items, you know, in this document. So this is very clear in helping you to understand what you are selling, how much you're selling it for, and when you're selling it at those particular prices. All right. So that's your first set of columns from row 14 to 24. Then we go down to product cost. This is where now we'll list the product cost. So we're literally taking all the information that we have from our price list and populating it into our revenue model, right? So we have, as I said here, we have a product price, we have our product cost. Again, if your costs are changing throughout the year, then you can represent that and project accordingly. Then you have the volumes that you intend to sell. And once you have these numbers, guys, then these are the basic information that you need to be able to project your sales information. Then you need to consider what are your operating overheads that you need to consider when running either whether it is just the e-commerce arm of your sales e-commerce arm of your sales approach, or maybe it is that you're on a business that is strictly e-commerce and you want to capture everything. Everything here, guys, enables you to know, is this idea worth it? Are these price points worth it? if I sell at this particular price, at this, with these costs, and sell this amount of this particular item, how much money will I make, right? Of course, you have to consider the operating expenses that come with selling those things and running that business. So, here we have listed things like your rent, electricity, water, internet, cable, staff, systems. And this again is looking mainly at an e-commerce type of business, right? There are things like bank charges that we could add to this. There are many other expenses that will typically come with a business of this nature. But again, guys, we're just using some demo information here to give you guys an idea of how to populate a document like this, right? Once you've completed your expenses, then it does a quick summary of your sales and all of those things. But let's go back up to the top and go through in a slower manner. So we see here where for Kim's Beauty, her products prices are listed here. So you see here you have $50 for hair wash, and she's projecting that right through the year, right? So from January to December, she expects all of her prices to remain the same. Similarly, her costs, she expects her costs to remain the same. Now, volume oftentimes is where I like to play around with things, because after I set my price is my price. I've gone through a justification process as to why I'm going to charge the price I charge. Unless something happens within the space, my costs oftentimes remain the same as well. So, when you're looking at projections, you definitely want to be looking at your numbers, your volumes, through different marketing activities, initiatives, partnership engagements, and otherwise, these numbers can change. And keep in mind that for this document here, again, it's example, we've projected selling the same amount every single month. So if that we target 100 hair washes, 50 haircuts, and we're doing that every single month, then we expect that at the end of the year, we may end up with 1,200 hair washes, and this again is very prescriptive as to how everything would add up, right? So this is where you play with your numbers, guys. These are very assumption based. These assumptions are going to be made based on your marketing and sales activities, oftentimes also based on your historicals if you're not a new business. So if you're an old business and you wanted to say, all right, this year I want to make I'm adding e-commerce, and I expect e-commerce to bring a 20% increase in my sales numbers, then you can account for it here and project what that would look like from your business. So it helps you to really see what this addition to your business may look like, or what your business can look like on a whole. Of course, you don't have to use it only for the e-commerce part of your business, but overall, this is a tool that can be used for any type of projections where profit and loss is concerned, right? So as you have seen, as I said, we talked about having the volumes and having your operating expenses. And once you go down further, it now takes the volume that you projected to sell at and also your sales price. So, we had here 100 hair washes at $50, so right away, it calculates it at 5,000. And all these formulas are already built into the platform. The only areas that you need to adjust are these areas that are highlighted in blue. First 4 sections: price, costs, volumes, and operational expenses. Everything else is tabulated for you. So right away, you're able to say that, all right, by the end of January, I can have $65,000 in sale. By the end of the year, I expect to make $783,000 in total sales, right? Then it's going to look at calculating your direct cost as well. So these are the costs associated with every single sale that you make. So it looks at multiplying again the cost price times the volume that you intend to sell. So we had our hair wash cost price at $20. We intended to sell 1,000 hair washes per month, which works out to $2,000 in direct costs for every single hair wash, right? And again, it calculates your direct cost. Then down here, it shows your gross profit. How much money will I make at the end of every single month? By just selling hair washes. If I didn't pay any bills, if I didn't have any rent, if I didn't have any staff to pay, what money am I left with to run my business, to pay my expense and leave profit? That is what your gross profit is. Your gross profit looks at your initial profit simply after selling each product, right? So we see here where for hair wash, we were selling 100 hair washes at $5,000 for the month and costing us $2,000. So we see here where our gross profit on hair wash is just $3,000, right? And again, guys, if you had different numbers for different months, then you could project out accordingly. All right. And then we get down into our, so this is what the total gross profit would look like. Then it makes assumptions for operational expenses. Again, if it is that your operational expenses were changing month over month, then you could definitely represent that as well on your end. But in this case, we're keeping it standard. But again, it's projecting for the entire month. So again, it will summarize what your total operation expense. Then at the bottom, the income statement here will show a total of what everything look like. So it will show the total of your sales for the year. To show the total of your direct costs for the year. To show the total of your gross profit for the year, and then it will show your total expenses for the year. Do those deductions and showcase the total operating expenses and the profit that is left for you to take home and do what you want to. Whether you want to keep it in the business, pay dividends to yourself as a shareholder, or if you want to keep it all, it's up to you. But this clearly outlines and projects what it looks like to plug those values in. As I say, everything is coming from your pricing considerations, how it is that you look at pricing, and how it is that you project volumes where this is concerned. Now, oftentimes, I know one of the biggest challenge person that have it are the assumptions. How do you make realistic assumptions that make your projections relevant, trackable? One of the things that you don't want, and when you operate a company that has a board, and you have to report to your board, one of the things that your board will look at is, are these numbers realistic? Are you being realistic about what it is that you are telling us that you're going to achieve this year? If you have other shareholders in a business you have to report to, you have to also be accountable to them and be realistic in these numbers that you're putting out to them. So how do you put this thing together in a way that makes sense? So oftentimes you will have to have some justification. I think the biggest area that you may have some gray on are the assumptions that you make around your volume targets. Again, for businesses that are already in operation, it is easiest to use your historicals and say, all right, I'm going to have a 30% increase this year for one reason or another. Whether it is COVID has hit, I sell masks, everybody's going to need masks now. These are some of the assumptions that you make. Or maybe it is that a particular product, again, let's just use the condition of COVID. COVID hit, it is difficult to get this particular product because of this. My volumes may not increase, but my price point will increase because the availability or inavailability of the product is driving the pricing up. Right, but these are some of the considerations that you have to make when doing this. Now we'll be sending this out to be completed and uploaded for us to review together, and also for our records. But before I go any further, any questions on this document that I'm sharing? Any comments as well? Have you been working with documents that is this new to you? Do you see this being helpful to you? I'm opening up the floor for any comments or questions. I was that clear.
Yeah, I have a question. Since you yourself personally own a software company, so to speak, would you use this exact same template or do you use something else?
So I use this exact same template, But you know, one of the things that I do, I actually add a column here to actually itemize my justification. Sorry, where is it? For my quantities, I actually put a justification for my quantities. So for example, let's use the example of hosting service. Every single time I build a website, I have to host that website, right? So if I listed a hosting service here as my product, what I would say here is that, all right, I want, no, the hosting service model is a subscription model where if I get 10 customers per month for a year, that would mean that I end up with 120 customers at the end of the year, because this is an ongoing engagement with these customers, assuming that no customers are leaving. So customers are signing up, but none are leaving, right? How do I project in a way that makes sense? What I do is I look at a list. So instead of saying, so my document may look like, all right, I may say, all right, I want to sell 10 new new accounts per month, for argument's sake, right? It is different from me selling a website. So let's just change this here for a second. Or do I want to play with this? Let's just change here for a second. No, I don't want to change it because it's going to mess with the document. But let's use an example of those two examples, hosting and website development. If this was hosting, I would say, all right, I want to get 10 new hosting services per month. And when I think about somewhat, all right, I don't need anybody to build a hosting. I just set it up and it's there. Like, you know, it's an hour exercise. It doesn't take long, doesn't take too many human resources. So I can add as many hosting customers to my system as my capacity can support. But maybe if it takes an hour to do, I can at least add 8 per day, for argument's sake, you know. But what this means, however, is that if I started my year with 100 customers on hosting, by month 2, I expect to have 110, right? By month 3, I expect to have 120, right? And so on. So it's going to increase by 10 every single year because I'm running a subscription. I'm accounting for a subscription-based product. Now let's look at website development, which is a project-based website. Project-based website requires a lot of human capital to create these websites, takes a lot of time. So I may not be able to create more than, say, 2 per month, right? Because clearly these are maybe high-value projects, and you know we're not looking to do $50 websites. So maybe we're looking at $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 website, for argument's sake, right? I may say, for the first quarter, I want to see if I can hit two websites per month, right? And I say, all right, to see if this works, I'll have enough money to hire a 3rd software developer. So now I can maybe go after 3 for the next quarter. Now you notice that this is not adding to, you see, I call it subscription works, where you have a customer base and your customer base is continuously growing. In the case of the website, it's the amount of websites that you're doing per month. It's not necessarily growing because they're not paying for it every month, they're paying for it one time. You get me? So what you're doing is that you're looking at, all right, how can I have a lift here every month? So I may document and say, all right, I want to add 1 every 3 months, you know, 3 months for argument's sake here. So 1 every 3 months. So increase by 1. So what I typically do is put a title called lift, or you know, something that justifies my thinking for my assumptions around the volumes that I am projecting, right? At the end of the day, I say most times your pricing, after you've arrived at your pricing and your costs, those don't change very easily unless something has happened in the market. But what you definitely have a lot to play around with is your assumptions around pricing, right? So because of the nature of the business that I run, where some of my products are subscription based, I may look at my engagement where, you know, I'm getting an increase in my customer base, and in the case of a product that is not a subscription based but a simple product, it may be more like, all right, I'm trying to sell X amount of these per month. I know it will not necessarily increase every single month, but if I can increase capacity to match the demand that I'm looking for, what I'm trying to achieve, then I can have that lift. So there are different ways to justify your volume assumptions and so forth. It will be very different from based on the business model of that particular product and the type of product that you sell. I hope that was very clear to you, Edmond.
Yeah, it was. Thanks.
Any other questions? I see some chat, some activity in the chat. Let's see what's going on there. So we're talking about other things outside of what's on screen. Any other questions on the projections about how we make assumptions, anything at all that's unclear to you guys? Because remember now, this is going to be your next assignment. So I'm just preempting you guys, give you a heads up on it, so that hopefully we get it on the first one. No other questions? No? All right, so we have about 20 minutes left. And of course, we have module 3 to get into. Let me just check to see. Oops. We're having that here. Let's sit down here, guys. All right, so module 3 gets into e-commerce systems, payment systems, and all of those information. I don't know if you necessarily want to start it today based on where we are in our session for today. We only have about 20 minutes left, so I don't want to necessarily start this today, but instead just go to the entire thing completely next week. So next week is when we would really get into the meat of the matter. We've spent the last 2 to 3 weeks there about preparing you for what it takes to get into e-commerce, so that when you start activating these systems and tools, it's put together in a way that makes sense for your business, guys. I can't stress how important it is to lead with strategy, to lead with numbers as well. You don't want to find yourself in a position where you've given your marketing team objectives to achieve, and it's not done in a measurable way, in a way that you can see clearly what is happening and the thinking behind it. I can tell you flat out that as an e-commerce consultant, what I'm finding more and more in this space is that persons build these websites. There's no sales activity happening on the website. Why? Because there's no strategy behind it, there's no approach behind it. And we'll be getting a lot into this, into how the activations meet the strategy in our next session. So, for those who I know are rearing to get into the e-commerce setup and so forth, we'll definitely get into more technical things starting next week. But do we have any other questions on today's session on pricing, on the revenue model, anything at all?
Yes, I do have another question.
Sure.
So let's say you have a service that is where your revenue is dependent on what you pay your people, right? So how would you gauge that essentially to increase your prices or decrease your prices based on what was discussed in this today?
So let's look back at this document again. So let's use the example of let's probably play around with the demo document, right? So let's use the example. What type of business are you in?
Food delivery.
Food delivery. All right. And give me an example of a resource that you have to charge your customer for based on what you pay for it.
Service charge. We have a service fee that's based on the price of the item. Yeah.
Right, so delivery fee.
Yes.
Delivery fee is one of the products that you have to activate, right? So you have delivery fee, right, and it's listed both in fast. All right. So as it is right now, how much would you say you pay for it? You charge a customer for delivery?
About $5 a delivery, $2.50 US.
$5. All right. So let's use USD
Yeah,
for
$2.50 US.
consistency. All right. So $2.50 US. how much do you pay your worker or
Well,
your
currently, and the reason I asked was because currently we're doing like consultant work, so they control that part, and then we charge a percentage. So we're getting 15%, which is 75 cents.
So 0.75 cents. So hold on, you get 15%.
Yes.
Okay,
Out
so
of
I'm
the
deducting
delivery.
this 0.75% from, okay, so you're charging them $1.75.
15%.
They're charging you $1.75.
No, it's 15% of the delivery fee. So it's going to be 75 cents in our currency. Not sure what that would result to in US, truthfully.
Okay, so that's 15.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're saying, let's bring up our calculator. Don't touch my maths yet, yeah? So we're saying that on that $2.50, you make 15%.
Yes.
Right? So in that case, then you would have made 0.0375 cents. So let me actually, let's round it up and call it 0.38. Yeah. So 2.5 minus 0.38. So $2.12 would be your cost. 12 cents would be your cost, right? All right. And then how many deliveries do you think you would make per month?
Per month. 7,000.
7,000. All right, so 7,000 deliveries, right? All right. So your question now is how do you do what?
I was going to switch out and look at a way to provide a salary for the drivers, so that way we could see if that would be a feasible option, based on what we're paying out per delivery.
Okay. So
Yeah.
what you would do then is that right away we can see your price to your customer. We can see what cost you are incurring, right? We can see how many volumes of deliveries you do per month, right? Right away, you're able to see that in total, you're doing $17,500 in delivery sales, right? What is cost you almost $15,000, which leaves you with $2,660 that you make from this engagement. Now, at the end of the day, if you are going to switch out your engagement model with your service provider, then you need to ensure that whatever number you come up with to pay him as a salary allows you to at least earn more than this $2,660 US. You get where I'm coming from, or is it?
For sure. Yeah,
you know?
completely understand.
Right. So this is how a document like this could help you to make different decisions. Now you also need to look at capacity. So this person is able to do 7,000 deliveries for you per month, right? If it is that you put them on a salary normally means that you're working a certain number of hours for the day. So maybe, so let's say we use the example of a 9 to 5, right? Using an example of 9 to 5, will they be able to complete those deliveries, those 7,000 deliveries per month on 9 to 5 schedule? Or is it that they would have to go beyond the 9 to 5 to complete these deliveries? And what additional cost will you incur for overtime if it's that you intend to pay overtime? You get me? So these are additional considerations that you would have to make when thinking about all of that. But you can see here where clearly, just by plugging in these numbers, you're able to, you get so much information that you're able to make a quick decision on what makes sense for you in terms of, do I continue contracting this person, or do I get somebody who is full-time, who is on salary? Keep in mind as well that we have not yet tapped into our operational expenses. As it is right now, when you contract somebody, you have zero OPEX. You pay them the service for the deliveries. Every maintenance for their bike is theirs. Any cost they incur, fuel is theirs. You don't have to figure out how to provide fuel for the bikes. You don't have to track that expense to see if the bike person is stealing from you or not. Are they keeping the bike and riding in at night to do their personal business on your fuel. These are the things that come into your operational cost when you start to look at contract versus salary. You get where I'm coming from?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Again, just by itemizing these things, you can see where clearly your projections document here can help you to make decisions. And at the end of the day, guys, this is the purpose of doing these documents. It is for your decision, enables you to make better decisions for your company. It helps you to see things at a snapshot and gives you something to hand over to your marketing and sales team as a working document that we can go after. You understand? Keep in mind as well, guys, that when you're setting targets, if it is that, let's say, for instance, your target for the month was 7,000 deliveries, but you got 6,000, try to set a target, look at the targets per quarter, because there's an opportunity next month to make up that loss. You understand? So if that you have a target for the quarter of, let's say, 21,000 deliveries based on that 7,000 per month, and 1 month they come up short, or maybe 1 month you hit it out the park and maybe you did 10,000 deliveries, and sometimes you can make a target from all the way in February. Do you stop there? No, let's try to overperform and hit it out the park. You get where I'm coming from? So you set new standards for yourself. These are things that this document can help you to do.
Awesome, very awesome. I can't wait for this document. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Any other questions? Was there, is Shan, do you have a hand up?
Yes.
Okay,
Now
great.
my question is, so the template that Gilbert shared with us, so we could use that to come up with the cost and then put that into this document, and then it will calculate, okay.
Right, so from there, you will create your price list. First thing that you're gonna do, create your price
list. Okay.
What we're really doing is copying out your prices into the document, and then of course, adding your operational expenses. Now, you could also choose to add you could choose to have a column below that, sorry, a section below that talks about your operational expense if you want to itemize them there, but I think it may be dual work, if you choose to go that route. I'm just gonna stop my camera for a second, guys. I see where it's glitching a lot. I don't know if it's impacting the quality of the vocals that are coming across. I'm just gonna disable the camera feature for now, right? But you take Gilbert's document, you come up with your pricing based on your pricing model and your cost structure as well, and then you just plug them into your price list and then into your revenue model.
And if I'm using the two methods, the hourly and the project based, I can put both options here as well.
Yes, so in a sense, what typically what you would seek to do, and again, if you're in the consulting space, sometimes one of the difficult I have found is defining the product. So where does one thing start and where does another thing stop? So if something is a consulting product that is an hourly rate, then you treat it like that. You treat it as selling hours. You understand? So in this case of consulting, you're gonna have, let's use example of $50, $100 as a consulting price, right? Then you have your consulting costs. Well, I don't know what costs you may bear to provide your service, but for argument's sake, let's use $50 to make it simple, right? As your cost. Then this is where the volumes are concerned, you're gonna be tracking how many hours can I sell per month? Because it's not a physical thing anymore, you get me? But you're selling those hours. So look at the units, match unit for unit. And in this case, let's say your consulting rate is your hourly rate, but let's say you have a digital asset that you sell. Maybe it's a guide, maybe it's a formula, maybe it's a worksheet, maybe it's a strategy document, you understand? I say, this document, I can sell this for $1,000 for argument's sake, and I'm going to incur a cost of maybe say $300 to produce it, right? Make it look pretty and fancy dancy. When it comes to your volumes, it's going to be for each instance of that document store. So when it comes to hours that you're selling, then you're going to do your volumes based on hours, because and you have to determine what your capacity is as well as a consultant, whether you're going to be able to spend maybe 1 hour per week, per month, per day, and you accommodate and you account for those hours within that time. But you have to match product product information, relevant product information right across the board. So if it's hours of selling, then you're looking at this as an hourly rate, you know, and you're selling hours for the month. If it's a physical product, then you're selling instances of that product. Got it?
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, man, no problem. Sure, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, trying to figure out how I would incorporate the inventory column into the spreadsheet.
All right, so in the case of the inventory column, as you notice here, we don't have an inventory column for this spreadsheet, right? But what I will say to you is that your volume section does represent your inventory, because this is telling you how many instances of that product you intend to sell. Remember, this is a projection sheet, right? So if it is that you say, all right, I'm going to be selling, let's use the case of Kim's Beauty, and we'll just use the example of the castor oil, right, which is a physical product. Or let's use the makeup for simplicity. If it is that you're projecting to sell 200 makeup for January, then in your inventory, you need to have at least 200 makeup. You can't sell what you don't have, yeah? So it acts as an inventory. This projects your price, your costs, and the volumes that you intend to sell. And in projecting the volumes that you intend to sell, you're kind of inventory planning at the same time as well. You understand? Because if it's that you're saying, all right, we're going to be selling 200 makeups this month, then at a minimum, you need to have at least that 200 to sell. And if it is that you have a capacity issue to produce or acquire that 200 makeup, then you need to reflect that in the projection. You understand? So what this allows, understand, guys, the biggest headache is that, I don't know how many of you have ever faced it before, where you're working with persons, you're working with a business development agency that have partners, or you have a board that you have to report on. They say, all right, guys, we need to see how much money we can make from this. Put together a projection. Oftentimes, we're pulling numbers out of thin air. This allows you to have a formulated approach towards coming up with your projections. All right, Mina.
It's just that I want to clarify. If you have more than one product, so you're doing the cost price separately and then summarize it.
All right. So you say if you have more than one product, but you have multiple costs for that product.
Yeah.
Yes, you definitely put it together. So you put your total cost for that product.
And then summarize it into the same spreadsheet.
Right, yeah, man, you just put it here. Gilbert, you there?
Hello?
Yeah, man, I'm here, Mina. I'm just pulling in Gilbert on this one. Gilbert?
Yeah, I'm here, but there's a lot of background noise. It's making it difficult for me to hear what's being said.
Okay, let me just mute. Mina, I'm gonna mute you for a little bit. I think it's your background. I'm gonna mute you for a little bit, all right? All right, so Gilbert, Mina is asking, if it is that she has a product that has multiple costs or multiple cost elements that come together to represent her total cost, how does she represent that? So I was mentioning to her that what she would do here is put a summary of the cost, what the total costs are. In terms of your table, I don't remember if was there an opportunity to break down the different costs that came together.
Yeah, on the first sheet, there is multiple tables for different products. So each product's cost would be broken out separately. And you can just keep copying and pasting based on the number of products if you're creating products.
So if, let's say, for instance, I'm selling lipstick and I'm making lipstick, right? And keep in mind, I don't know more making lipstick, but I'm just going to pull some random things out of thin here, right? So the liquid to make the lipstick, to make it red and, you know, come off and everything, right? Then you're talking about the packaging, the thing that the lipstick goes up through. Then maybe talking about a sticker and lipstick that puts the brand on it. And maybe you're talking about a package that I give to the customer when they're walking out the door. Does your document allow to itemize all these different expenses?
Yep.
Okay, great.
For every separate product that I say. The first sheet, which is costing and base price, have for multiple products. And as I said, the more products you have, all you have to do is copy each of those tables and paste them, and then you just keep at it.
Okay. Mina, did that help you? So that was clear for you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Just a clarification.
It's important that you be able to separate those products, just in case, let's say, your cost on one product may have gone up, but it does not affect another product. All right. So you want to have that the liberty to change the price based on the cost for that product specifically.
Okay. Noted. All right, guys. Any further questions? We have at least 3 minutes left. Any comments? Any questions? How are you guys feeling about this document? Do you think it will make your life a lot easier? Where projections and just managing your pricing and costing is concerned? Just give us some quick feedback on that. If
Yeah,
you're
let me say, so this document that Leighton is presenting, right? It's relative, it's important beyond just your operations. As you were saying, if you have a board or investors, or you're looking to make your business a bankable business, they would often look for this particular document, right? And they would do what is, there's a column, there's a cell that Leighton has that's called EBITDA. There we go. Right, and this is what your numbers are before you've paid your taxes, if you have debt, if you have a bunch of different items that you would be accountable for as a business. A bank would look at this, or an investor would look at these numbers, and based on whether this number sits above, once it's above 10, a 10 percentage point, your business is seen as something that is worth investing in. The higher it is, the stronger it is. So this document is actually great. And when you look into, again, these are projections. These are ideas that you have about where your business can go. It also works as a guideline. Once I put in my projection, then I know what I'm working towards. If I don't meet these projections, I have to figure out, well, why didn't I meet these projections? Right? It comes in as a key performance index as well. Right? So you say, okay, why didn't I meet these projected numbers? You look at where your shortfall were, where there's extra costs, lack of marketing. You look at those things, and then you make the adjustments for the ongoing months. It's a really great document, and it can become very, very, very complex. You can add columns to this that makes it even more complex. All right.
Thanks for that, Gilbert. Any other questions before we run? We're exactly at the 12 p.m. mark. Any questions, any comments? Philip, I don't know if you're still.
No, I'm here. Very excellent session. These tools are really seriously value-added tools. I hope businesses would take them on board and play around with them. It's just fun just playing around with different scenarios for your business and so on. So really, thank you very much, guys. Today was an excellent session. The recording will be made available as soon as it's edited, and we look forward to next week on payments. Thank you.
One other thing before you go, Philip, for Roxanne from Shop Carib and the folks at Planting Seeds, could you send us some details? Could you send Philip some details on your platform?
Oh, yes. Thanks for
in
that,
terms
yes.
of what it costs to get on board.
Yeah, because I'm putting together some documentation.
Yes.
Hey, this is Tamara. Okay, you on, Roxanne? Perfect. Awesome.
Yes, I am. But I would love to, yeah, if we could kind of talk it through as well as to what you're hoping for. So certainly I'm open to a meeting. We can just have a quick chat. If you want me to hold on now, we can have a quick chat just to understand what you all want to get out of it.
The idea is simple, right? So there's an opportunity for businesses to be on the platforms that are available here. We're trying to push as much as possible regional platforms. Currently, there are 3 platforms on here, that I know of, which is yours, Roxanne, Planting Seeds, and Etne, which is my company as well. So what we're looking for is a presentation or an idea of what it costs, your features, all the pluses. So you're selling a platform, and we're looking to move the businesses that are currently in this cohort and the next onto these platforms, give them opportunities to actually start selling, so that this program is not just one of theory. You have actual people are moving from not being and selling online to actually selling online.
Yeah, fantastic. I'll send you something. Thank you so much.
Wonderful.
Yeah, you're sending it to me. Thanks,
No
Gilbert.
problem.
Yeah.
Thanks, Philip.
Yes.
And
Right.
I think was it from Plant and Seed? Was it Janelle?
Yeah, right.
Janelle,
Janelle. So
right? And whoever, and the rest of your team, you guys can send that over as well.
So yeah, because I'm putting together, a global view of different options, including international ones, and for Carbon Export's own advising itself, and give everybody opportunity to participate. Great, thank you. Have a good one.
Okay, bye.